Vince, would you like to get us started?
Yep, and here we go. All right, welcome everyone to today's webinar. My name is Vincent Donadio, Interactive Media Manager at Data Conversion Laboratory. If you follow or interact with us on Twitter, Facebook, Google+, or visit our website, I'm the guy on the other side of the tube. So come say hi. For those of you who are not familiar with DCL, we convert and organize content to create electronic documents, populate databases, publish on the web, and get it ready for tomorrow's technology. DCL services help you refine your document conversion strategy, identify document redundancy, extract metadata, and transform legacy and future documents for real needs today and in the future. This morning we have Sharon Burton, a content strategist, with us. She's going to tell us a little bit about who she is and what she does, and then jump right into Content Workflow Part 2, The Fix. Be sure to spread the buzz on Twitter using the hashtag #WorkflowFix. Sharon, go on.
Good morning, everybody. Hold on, I am helping somebody solve their problems. Okay, let me see if that worked. That didn't work. Okay. Vince, why aren't I going to the next slide? I'm doing arrow, I'm doing scrolly. Why isn't that working? Aha, that worked. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I'm in the Pacific time zone, so it's morning for me. Good afternoon, good evening, good, with the global world. Good, insert your appropriate greeting here. My name's Sharon Burton. And if you were here for the last meeting, you can take a little nap while I introduce myself. But if you weren't here for the last one, I'd like to introduce myself. Obviously, my name is Sharon Burton. I've been in the TechCom industry for about 20 years now, which is amazing. For somebody who never intended to do this for a living, I have in fact been doing it far longer than I would have expected. I'm a content strategy consultant. So if you have workflow issues or you just have this vague feeling that things could be or should be done better, but you don't even know where to start, I'm the sort of person that you would hire. There are several of us out there. I'm that kind of person. I'm an STC Associate Fellow, which is something I'm really proud of. I also teach nearly anybody who will hold still long enough for me to teach. This includes technical communication to engineering students at the University of California, Riverside. The university called me about 7 years ago. Through STC, I knew the department head, and the department head called me and said, Sharon, I have a problem. And I said, really, Tom, what is that? He said, we're graduating engineers who can't communicate. And I said, really? Well, you're the only program in the country who's doing that. Every engineer I know communicates perfectly well. Hopefully you guys are all laughing there. Yeah, so we put together this technical communication course. It is a gatekeeper class. The students cannot graduate without it, so that's fun. And it's tremendously exciting. It's 40 to 80 students a quarter, and it is changing the world one engineer at a time. It's really just amazing. I also teach for the TechCom certificate at UCR Extension. It's an online class if you're interested. And I've been just recently started teaching business writing for the University of Redlands, which is tremendously fun. And then, in my spare time there, I knit, crochet, I write, I garden, I have an Australian Shepherd, and I'm married to a writer. So there's a lot of words that go on in my house and a lot of dog laughter. And I just say the dog thing because I know some of you have dogs and you like your dogs as much as I like mine. So there it is. Okay, so last week, let us say thank you to our host. I forgot. Data Conversion Lab, they rock. I just think it's fantastic that they have offered to host this so that you guys have a chance to get a 3-part webinar. And hopefully learn something, hopefully clarify some things for you, hopefully, be able to think about some things you didn't know you needed to think about. So let's all do a virtual applause. Here I go. I'm applauding. Can you hear it? Okay. I don't know if that sounds like applause or not, but let's pretend it was. So if you need to do heavy-duty conversion of your docs or anything like that, go to DCL first. Just because they're clearly showing their commitment to the TechCom field and what we're about. So let's reward that by sending them business whenever it's appropriate. Okay, so, all right, there we go. So last week last time we met, we talked about the sorts of things that would indicate that your content development process, and that includes workflow, that includes all of the parts of it, the process is broken. And I've heard from several of you since then, and you've functionally put your head down on the desk and burst into tears because of the things that I went through. You had many of them. So, okay. So this week I'm going to talk about some of the ways that you can fix this. And then the next week I'm going to talk even in more depth. So it's like the fix, largely, it's the method to fix. And then next week we'll talk about some different specific stuff. So the fix, in case you didn't know, is topic-based authoring. So let's look at what topic-based authoring is. Now this is a ton of content on this slide. I didn't expect you to read the whole thing, you know, while I sit here quietly. We'll have like silent reading for a few moments. I didn't expect that. But this is in fact the Wikipedia definition of topic-based authoring. The things that we care about is it's modular. A topic is a discrete piece of content that has a purpose and can be reused across your documentation library. And then DITA, Darwin Information Typing Architecture, is one way of doing topic-based content. It is not the only way, and there is no reason why you have to go to DITA if you don't want to. DITA is kind of like the holy grail of content reuse and topic-based authoring, but DITA can also be very expensive, and it may not be appropriate for you. It just may not. And so there is a place that you can go, which is topic-based authoring, and you never ever have to go all the way into DITA. So that's a big definition. Let's look at something that is more appropriate. What is it in bullets? Topic-based authoring is content development that focuses your content development efforts on the information your user needs to use the product. You're developing a body of information that's helpful to your user. Now that may kind of sound like what you're doing already, but stay with me. Stay with me. It's a little bit different. The point to topic-based authoring is to maximize content reuse. Last week, if you were with us, I talked about one of the big problems is that my clients are having is we think we could reuse a lot of content if only we could figure out how and what. That's what topic-based authoring solves. It is designed to let you maximize content reuse. Now, if you've ever done online help development, topic-based authoring is similar to structuring an online help system, in that when we develop online help system content, we are conscious of the fact that we don't know what our users, our readers, have read before they got to this topic. So there is a lot of what for a client I'm working with right now, the QA department called redundancy. And I had to educate them that, yes, you're right, that does seem redundant. It's not, I mean it is, but it's not because we don't know what topics the reader got to before they got to here. So topic-based authoring is also like online help systems because you're chunking information into, if you will, digestible bits. Now I've decided apparently that we're going to have food metaphors throughout the day. So that'll be fun. And then again, if you're moving to DITA, it is part of the trip. So to get all the way to DITA, to do the full journey, if you will, to get to DITA, you have to go through topic-based authoring. Now I've just changed metaphors, haven't I? To have the entire meal, the 9-course meal, where, you know, DITA is the dessert, you would go through topic-based authoring. But you can stop halfway. And to use our metaphor, you can stop around course 5 if you'd like. My metaphor is falling apart now, but still, you can stop at course 5 and just stay in topic-based authoring if that meets your business needs. And very often, that is more than sufficient to meet your business needs to give you the topic, the content reuse, and the other benefits that you're going to see using topic-based authoring. Okay, come on, slide. Hello, slide. Okay, so concretely, because I'm a concretely kind of girl, what are topics? If one walked in the house, how would we know that we have a topic? Because topics are small. They are maybe the equivalent to 1/2 to 4 printed pages, and they might be much smaller. The tools that really let you do topic-based authoring well will let you get down to a word. Now, you can lose your mind getting down to one word. You know, in every place that we reuse the word "and," you can see really quickly that life is going to get crazy. So that's not a best practice, but you could, if you wanted, to get down as small as a fragment of a sentence. A topic only includes the information needed to perform one procedure or understand one concept, or in the case of we're looking forward to maximizing our content reuse, maybe we're going to have a paragraph that goes into lots of different topics, but that paragraph is reused all over the place, and that paragraph is its own topic. So it can get very, very small. And the beauty of all of these topics is you can combine and recombine these topics as you need them. So if somebody comes in your office and says, well, we're doing another product, it's a lot like the Acme 3000 widget, or as a matter of fact, it's the Acme 4000 widget, and it's going to do everything the 3000 widget does plus a couple of other things. With topic-based authoring, it's no big deal. You go, fine, you write those few topics that are different, you combine it all together again into probably something along the lines of a TOC, and you're done. Now, we don't tell anybody it's that easy. No, 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 we don't do that because that would be bad. If they know it's that easy, they'll start making crazy demands. But it really is that easy. And something that I have found is topics are easier to update because it seems that management can wrap their head around, well, we need to update 3 topics, easier than they can get their head around the idea that we need to update 3 places in the user guide or 3 places in the online help. In my experience, no matter how much you explain to management, we just need to change 3 places in the document, they start screaming, but we don't have time to review that entire user manual again. And you go, right, I don't need you to review the entire user manual again, you see, because we're only changing 3 places. And they go, well, but that's, for now we have to do the whole thing. No, 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 no. 3 places, it's really 3 pages. I want you to think of 3 pages, but it's in the user guide. That's a 200-page document. Yes, but so if you're doing a topic-based authoring methodology, for some reason, they can wrap their head around, I need you to review 3 topics. We're going to update 3 topics. And I need you to review those. And since 3 topics are like half a page each, you're really saying about a page and a half of content. And so you can get approval from management for doing that. Once you've made those changes, depending on how you're delivering your content, you could just push those updated topics out to your users. And definitely depending on how you're delivering your content, it could be completely seamless to your users. So it could be they don't even know that you've updated. It's just, you know, tomorrow morning when they log in to whatever it is they're doing and they go and look at the help, they've got the updated topic. Much easier than trying to do a 200-page manual. Now, I did talk about focusing. Wait, that went backwards. I don't want to do that. I want to go forward. No, really, I want to go forward. Okay. Here we go. Wait, don't change. Stay right there. Okay. For those of you, no, darn it. Okay. This is technology, man. Sometimes it works well and sometimes it doesn't. For those of you who are visual learners, this graphic might help you. Now, I warn you, I am not a strong visual learner, which means this is really not a terribly good graphic. When it comes to designing information visually, I'm not the best choice for that. I can identify one that's done well, but I'm not very good at creating them from scratch. And guess what? I created this one from scratch. But this is a picture of how topic-based authoring might work. You wind up with a library or a project. The different vendors call them different things, but it's the same idea. And then you have topics like adding users or relating objects or customizing objects or about schedules or setting schedules or so on. Notice that there's no inherent relationship between any of these topics. These are all just pieces of information about the product or products that you're writing about. And then, using the tool, so this is where I just stole my thunder. Go to the next slide. No, really. Vincent, would you make that happen, please? It doesn't like me. and then this was where I was going with this. Then, using what we know about the product, we can start looking at this and going, it seems like we've got some topics that are admin guide sorts of topics, whether we deliver them as a PDF or we deliver them as help or we deliver them as air help or ebooks or whatever our delivery is. We've got some topics that seem appropriate to administrators. And then we've got some topics that seem appropriate to the programmers for this product. And then we've got some topics that seem as though we could reuse them in a getting started guide. And notice these are all the same topics, when we are just simply reusing them. We're dragging and dropping and reusing them. So all of the tools that support topic-based authoring let you do this recombine of topics, dragging, dropping, reorganizing, resorting, so that you can really maximize your content reuse. Vincent, would you please do my next slide, please? Because it just simply doesn't like me anymore. Okay, now, I talked about that the point to topic-based authoring is to develop information based on your user's information needs. And you probably went, well, that's what we're doing. What do you think I've been doing my whole career? Yes, but no. Topic-based authoring is the next logical step in minimalism. And by the way, minimalism is not writing as little as possible. This is one of my favorite misconceptions ever. People think that minimalism means, well, we just don't include any, articles, or, any pronouns, or no. Minimalism showed up about 1980, and it absolutely changed our field, and we are still feeling that change. Minimalism focuses on writing only the information your users actually need to have to use the product. Previous to minimalism, when because I wasn't in the field yet, so those people who were in the field, when they wrote documentation for products, they included everything they could ever think of about the product. Typically a ton of engineering sorts of stuff that nobody cared about. Personally, I don't really care. If I'm going to use a sewing machine, I don't really care how the whole thing works. I mean, I do in a way because I'm a geek, but basically I don't care about how all of the flywheels and all of that stuff works. I want to be able to sew a seam. That's what I want to be able to do. So tell me how to do that. And that's the difference between minimalism and not minimalism. Minimalism is, for example, telling your user what reports are and how to create one. Non-minimalism is describing how the database is structured and, how the queries are run and all that's. So minimalism is how do you run the report? How do you print the report? And topic-based authoring focuses us even more on the information our users need. Not information that everybody thinks would be wonderful, but the information our users need. And if you're in a use case or a scenario-based development environment, topic-based authoring maps out beautifully to this because your product development team is already creating the product based on user stories, on what the user needs to do. It's a user-centric, user-focused way of developing the product. Topic-based authoring is the same thing, and it maps out beautifully. Next, please, Vincent.
Using the arrow keys doesn't work for you?
Nope. It's just decided it doesn't wish to talk to me at all. So fine, we'll let you talk to it. It seems to like you.
All right.
Okay. Another benefit of topic-based authoring that I have found, and I was surprised, I did not expect this. Last time I was documentation manager, we moved into topic-based authoring, and we found that we suddenly started getting our reviews done. Typically, when we do reviews, we as people in our industry, we send out Chapter 7, and it's 45 pages. And our reviewers, reasonably so, scream like mashed cats. I can't possibly review 45 pages. I don't have time. And to be very fair to them, they're as busy as we are. They probably don't really have time to review 45 pages. And it's frustrating because you need the review and they don't have time. When you move to topic-based authoring kind of development, you're sending out topics as they're ready. And remember, they're 1/2 to 4 pages. Now, you may send out eventually the equivalent of 45 pages or 200 pages or whatever, but all of a sudden, people get 3 topics in their inbox, they recognize after the first couple that, wow, these are never longer than, maybe 500 words. I can do that while I eat my sandwich. And all of a sudden your reviews are getting done. Now, I'm not saying that, those people who are horrible about reviews and the best they ever give you is, a circled paragraph with a question mark. I'm not saying that they're suddenly going to join the parade, leading us all in song, because they're not. The difficult reviewers are still going to be difficult. But overall, you're going to be getting your reviewers done faster and more accurately because it's less content. And once a topic has been reviewed, you don't need to review it again unless you change it. So you can start sending out topics when they're ready instead of when Chapter 7 is ready, or worse, the user guide is ready, and then you dump 250 pages on them and say, please review by Tuesday. Here's a cookie. That never works well, and frankly, I don't blame them. But you're sending out topics, a couple of topics at a time, and if you need to reuse this topic in another deliverable, you don't need to review it again, unless something's changed. But if nothing's changed, you don't need to send it out for review again. So you're dropping the review load on your reviewers, giving them less content to review at any review time. No wonder it starts to get better. I did not see this coming, and I was delighted when I discovered this. And if you're doing localization, and as last time we asked people if they were doing localization, and a lot of people said yes, and a lot of people said they see it coming. And that's pretty much every time I do a survey that includes questions about localization. We pretty much have people saying either they're doing it now or they see it coming, and by see it coming, they don't mean it's way over there on the horizon. They mean, it's on land, it's marching closer every day. Localization costs are usually very high because you're dumping a 200-page manual on somebody, and you're saying, okay, we are going live in 3 weeks, and we need you to very definitely localize this in the next 2 weeks. It's 250 pages. And what happens is the localization company has to kill localizers in the process. They have to work 16, 20-hour days to get the project done. Anytime you kill people to get the project done, it's going to cost you more. And that's just common sense. That's intuitively sensible to you. But because topic-based authoring, once a topic is finished and it's been reviewed, it's done, you can send those to localization when they're ready. So that's fantastic, because that means 4 months before you need to have this topic ready, you can send it for review. And your localizers can just go, whenever I'm in the mood, I'll sit down, I'll localize it, it's no big deal. And because you're focusing on just the minimalist kind of information, only the information that is relevant to your user using the product needs to be localized, and if you need to use that localized content in another manual, it doesn't have to be localized again. Now, I've got a question up from Larry who wants to know, regarding reviews, do you find there needs to be a big picture review to ensure that all of the topics, when assembled, flow logically and contain all the needed information? How do you conduct such a review when you're asking SMEs to review on a topic-by-topic basis? Good question, Larry. I typically, when I was docs manager, we would put together the skeleton. We'd do a content spec and put together the skeleton of the topics that are going to go into whatever the deliverable was. And then we got whoever needed to sign off on that to sign off on that. Yes, these are the topics that need to go into this deliverable. This is the logical order and grouping. You're right. And then we'd say, good, then you're done with that. And the only time we would ask them to review that again was if we realized we had other topics that needed to be added because they changed the product, or we just discovered something we all missed. Because no matter how careful everybody is, we all know that sometimes you just miss an entire topic or a couple of topics, or God forbid, an entire section of the product. So yeah, I did that up front, so that up front we'd set the expectation. This is the content, and this is only the content that will go into this deliverable. And we would do a content spec review for all of the deliverables for that product at one time, so that everybody could see, oh, you're using this topic here and here and here. Oh, okay, yes, you're right. Or if there were any objections that need to be thrown that, yes, this topic could go into this other deliverable as well, but it's going to need to be slightly different, then I knew we'd need to use conditional text or variables or however we were going to manage it to get those slight differences. And all of the tools that support topic-based authoring support things like variables and conditional text. They may call them different things, but the concepts they all do. Okay, I'm going to try it again, Vincent, and see if I can get it to go. Okay, that didn't work. Let's try this. Yeah, no, it really just, oh wait! Okay, so before I move away from topic-based authoring for just a moment to talk about some best practices, are there any other questions about what topic-based authoring is so we can kind of get those dealt with right now? And this is where I'm going to sing a song while you guys type. Ooh, I could sing like a bad song that would put an earworm in your head for the rest of the day, but I'm not going to because it's a gorgeous day and I'm in a really good mood. All right, while you guys are thinking about that, I think that we are going to put a poll up because I'm really interested in this. And Vincent, I've got it. It works for me. So the hardest part of changing our content development process will be, and if you guys would, while you're thinking about any questions and typing them, if you guys would also go and take that poll, that would rock. Because I'm just curious. I'm foreshadowing some stuff that I'm going to talk about today and next week. So if you're thinking, oh my gosh, she hasn't covered those things, yes, I know that. I'm fully aware of that. So yeah, perfectly aware of that. All right, so I'm going to give you a couple of more minutes, actually less than a minute, to go ahead and finish that off. And you can select more than one, so I want you to feel comfortable. If you see that all three of them or even all four of them apply to you, go ahead and select all four of them. It's not a problem. And I wish that we had a way for you to be able to specify what other is in our webinar software, but we don't. So that's kind of a bummer. Okay, so you guys ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, I'm going to close that poll. And now I'm going to share it so you guys can see it. So the hardest part of changing our content development process will be, interesting, 2/3 of you said getting other teams to change how they interact with you. And that makes sense to me because the touch points for a TechPubs group where we touch other groups is always one of the hardest places because the other group has decided it shall always be, world without end, amen, we will always do things this way because we have decided to do it that way. And so we can change our processes inside of our group all day long. But getting the groups that we're touching to change, that's a challenge. That's really a challenge. And then convincing management you're broken, that is often a huge problem. Usually you have to do it by coming up with a business case. Show how much it's costing, identify the areas that you're broken, show how much it's costing, and then saying, and that's why we need somebody to come in and help us to figure out what it is we want to do. I have a question of asking what the best tool is for topic-based authoring. There is no best tool because all of the tools do functionally very similar things, and that's why this isn't about what's the best tool. This is about identifying what your problems are, understanding what the new methodology that you really need to adopt is, and then next week I'm going to talk a little bit about how you go about finding the best tool. The best, I'm doing air quotes here, best tool, because it depends on a ton of different variables. So there is no best tool out there. I have some preferences simply because I have preferences, but those preferences do not necessarily mean the best tool. And then somebody else has up one of their others, commenting on getting other teams to help to change how they interact with us, pointed out getting like the training department to adopt changes and then work with you can be quite difficult. So, okay, good, that's helpful. So I'm hiding the poll. By the way, I really like this graphic. I just think it's really cute. I just do, given that I'm not very good at graphics, but I think it's a really cute one. All right, let me see if this will work with me now. Ooh, Vince, it did. Okay, so, all right, you're thinking, good. I understand how we're broken because I was here last week. I have a sense of what topic-based writing is and what those advantages are, so I'm ready. Let's do it. Let's jump into topic-based authoring. And I say, hang on. Before you can jump into topic-based authoring, you've got to think about things like good writing. You've got to have writing standards in place because remember I said you could have topics as small as a fragment of a sentence, and you don't know when you write it where it's going to get used. All the different, I mean, obviously you have an idea of places you're initially going to use it, but because that content can be reused by anybody who is authoring content using your product, if you're using a really robust tool, you've got to have the same voice, you've got to have the same terminology, you've got to have all of that in place because we've all read stuff that was just jarring. One paragraph was written by one author, another paragraph was written by another author, and so on, and it's almost impossible to understand what's going on. So you've got to have good writing standards in place because content reuse demands it. So how do we get there? I've got some ideas. And apparently those ideas are secret because it doesn't want to go forward. Let me try this. Vincent, please, let me do one, and now it won't do anymore. Apparently it's like an amuse-bouche. To continue my food metaphors, it's like an amuse-bouche. Okay, in brief, you've got to consider at least the following. Present tense. We all know, we have all read manuals that were written in the future tense, and it makes it sound as though the product will one day, we don't know when, do these things. So you want present tense. You want the certainty that comes out of present tense. Active voice. There are good cognitive reasons to write active voice in English because our brains are hardwired to be more interested in things that are happening right now. If you tell us something happened in the past, we go, well, fine, whatever. That's really, literally, cognitively what happens. It's the weirdest thing in our brains, but it's true. Our brains go, oh, fine, whatever, I don't need to care about that. It's already happened. And if you write in future tense, we humans don't find that to be engaging because it's going to happen at some point one day, who knows when. And it makes your product sound iffy. Well, it will happen. Well, at least we designed it to happen. As a matter of fact, if it does happen for you, could you drop us a note? We tested it and could never quite get it there, but we were told that's what it was going to do. We don't want that kind of uncertainty in our product documentation. We want to sound as though we're pretty darn certain something's going to happen. So active voice. Second person, you want to write to you. You're having a conversation with somebody even though they're not right in front of you, and you want to talk directly to them. You would not talk directly to someone and refer to them as the user. Would the user like to go get a cup of coffee? I'm dying for some. And maybe the user would like to get a scone too. I was thinking a cinnamon roll, but would the user like a scone too? I'll run for it. You see how weird that is? Well, don't do that when you're writing documentation because it's just weird. User-focused, user-centric. This is a whole philosophy of which topic-based authoring is part of it, which is to always, always, always be focused on the user, to talk directly to the user, to think about the problems your user is trying to solve, to talk about the product in ways that make sense to them, not in ways that make sense to us, ways that make sense to them. User-focused, user-centric, and I guess I should have a hyphen for user-centric. So there's your typo for free today. I told you always get one free. Sentences of 25 words or less. This is a really important guideline because users who come to product documentation are under what's called a cognitive load. That means that they have a lot going on in their head. They're frustrated with the product. Their boss wants this report by the time, by close of business. Their kid is sick and they're trying to get stuff wrapped up. They're trying to install a stereo system with the puppy and the 3-year-old in the room. Talk about a cognitive load. Either of those is sufficient. Both of those is huge. So our users don't come to us with a clear and calm mind. They're under cognitive load. If you give them long sentences, you are forcing them to keep the entire sentence in working memory until they get to the end. And long sentences tend to have a lot of ideas in them. So under cognitive load, you are asking them to keep in working memory several ideas simultaneously. No, not going to happen. 25 words or less really forces you to write no more than 2 ideas in any given sentence. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, this woman is insane. You can't possibly do this. No, you can. I've built a career on it. I have built a career on 25 words or less, and it is not only doable, it results in much clearer information for your users. And if everybody on your team is doing this, you're going to immediately get clear and logical sentences. Same with 3 to 5 sentences per paragraph, same with 3 to 5 paragraphs per section. These are all going to the cognitive load, the cognition of your users working in the moment and presenting them with information that is, if you will, parsable. You know how you parse computer code? Same concept. It's parsable by humans under cognitive load. So if you're interested in the deep biological whys, the cognitive whys of all this, take my STC Master's class, which actually starts next week. We spent 5 weeks going into that. Okay, Vince, let's see if I can, wait. Let me double click. No, it's just not happening for me. There is just no love on this front for me. So Vince, if you could please go to my next slide. Okay, so we've got some writing guidelines, and I just touched on it there. There's a whole lot more. You need to set up style guides because, again, your content's being reused across multiple books. You're going to be reusing Joe's content and Sue's content and Diane's content, and they're going to be using your content, and you have to do that. Okay, so you're thinking, all right, Sharon, on board, topic-based authoring, totally on board. I understand that we need to put into place some writing guidelines, some standards for the whole writing thing. But Sharon, we have got buckets of legacy content. You know, it would be wonderful to think that we were coming at this brand new and we've never written a word before, but that's just not the case. We have tons of legacy content. Vince, could you do my next slide? So what do we do, Sharon, with all of this content? Well, it would be very pretty to think that your legacy content is going to neatly fit into all of this, that you're going to be able to just, you know, slice up your legacy content, just like cut, 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 there it is, now we have topics, yes, good, then there we go. That it won't take any time to figure this all out. We can just slice this all up. We can do it as we need to, no problem. It's easy, no worries. That would all be very pretty to think. And I wish I could tell you that. Vincent, if I could get my next slide, please. But the truth is, it's not going to. Your legacy content is not going to fit neatly into topics. At the very least, it is not well written or well structured or well organized. And I'm not saying that because you've been a bad person or your team has been bad. I'm not saying that because of that. If you are like most corporations, when the workload has been extreme, you've hired contractors, you've brought in interns, you've brought in junior writers, some of whom drank. That's the only thing you can possibly imagine, because when you go and look at some of this stuff, that's the only thing that could explain what's going on. So, you know, and as people got more expert in the products, they've changed how they wrote about stuff. I mean, it's probably just a mess. And so your first instinct is to, good, then we'll get a product, we'll just get one of these products, and we will just dump our content in and we're good to go. Don't do that. Don't jump on your horse and ride off in all directions, as one of my professors used to say to me. He said that was an old Chinese saying, which no old Chinese people I know know about, so I think he just made that up for me. You need to stop and analyze what you have before you can decide what you have. And that sounds tautological, but it's true. If you don't sit down to analyze what you have, you can't decide what you've got. You just can't. Because you're going to come up with some rosy picture about, oh, no, it's all fabulous. Well, no, it's not. I mean, it may not be wretched, but it's not all fabulous, trust me. And looking at one manual, maybe the manual that you wrote for the latest release, looking at that manual is not going to give you a real picture. Because if it's the manual that you wrote for the last release, you probably did a pretty good job of it. And that's not going to give you a real picture. You've got to go back and look at those drunk contractors and see what they did. And I'm not picking on contractors, but I've been docs manager and a consultant long enough to know that it seems like anybody who's had any history of using contractors at one point or another got one who drank. And that's, honest to God, the only possible explanation is they just weren't sober through the entire thing. That's it. So one manual isn't going to work, but you don't have to go through all of your manuals. And by the way, by manuals, insert your deliverable here. And this can also be politically very difficult sometimes, because very often you will find that there is one writer on a team who is certain that their content is special. It's not like other content. Yes, you could do topic-based authoring with all the other content, but the stuff that they write, it is special content, and it cannot possibly be broken up into topics and reused. And if you think that you don't understand the special needs of this content, as a matter of fact, if you don't feed this content ice cream and brush its hair, well, you don't want to know what's going to happen. And that's just got to be one of the silliest things ever. Every company and every writer, not every writer, but many writers, seem to think that their content is special just because it's their content. And the truth is, your content isn't special. You may have special requirements. You may be, maybe you're in a regulated environment, but you're not the only people in a regulated environment. Other people have solved these problems working in the same kind of environment. So the content isn't special. And even if you brush its hair and feed it ice cream, it still isn't really that special. Vince, if I could get my next slide, please. Okay, so what do you do? If you can't hire a company like DCL to help you do the conversion, which depending on how much legacy content you have may actually be the smart move, just outsource it, come up with, they can help you figure out what to do and can help you do the just do it. The benefit to doing that is you just turn it over to somebody else. You can go about your life, and then they come back and it's like elves came, except you have to write them a check. And there are times in which that is absolutely the best way. You just need to get this content sliced up and into the new tool. You can take it from there. Once that happens, you can take it from there. But you cannot do this and meet your deadlines at the same time. And if that's the situation you're in, it financially is probably more sensible for you to hire somebody like DCL to do this. But if you can't, or if you'd like to get a sense of what you've got before you hire somebody to do it, maybe you need to build a business case, consider making several passes. So maybe for this next version, when we update this product the next time, we'll move to a better tool. Remember, next week we're going to talk about how do you figure out what a better tool is for you. So we'll move to that better tool. And then the next time we come back to this content, we will rewrite it following the writing guidelines. And then the version after that, we're going to restructure sections so that we have similar structure throughout and so on. So if you need to meet your deadlines, if the deadlines are not at all movable and you see that we have to make this move because we just are so broken in so many ways until we start doing this, this is a way to do this. Now, if you have a very experienced writer, and that does not necessarily mean years in field, maybe you've got a writer who has worked at your company with every product that you've got, or maybe he or she has done this before in another place, or maybe this just really excites them to do this content analysis. Let them start. Maybe they know the content really well. They can start going through and figuring it all out, and they can help you put together the business plan, the business case for outsourcing it if you're going to, or the process for doing it internally if you're going to keep it internally. Vincent, could I get the next slide, please? Okay, oh good, I am where I thought I was going to be. I was looking at the clock going, it's quarter till, Okay. 3 really good books in order of importance to what you're doing. The first one is Kurt Amenz. It's now probably every bit of 10 years old and still incredibly relevant. So building modular documentation, and by the way, if you're looking at this thinking, I've got to write this all down, I'd like to point out that print screen will capture that information. So use print screen and then paste it into Word or something and then send it out to a printer, something like that. That'll do just fine for you.
These slides will also be made available later today.
There you go. The slides will also be made available later today, so you're good there. So Kurt Amenz book, excellent book. He has got some best practices and some ways to think about your content that 10 years later are still very, very relevant. And I've got a copy of it sitting right here on the bookshelf behind me, and I'll go back into it maybe a couple of times a year just to review and refresh myself a few times, and I always find something I go, I've forgotten about that. That's a fabulous thing for me to remember. Joanne Hackos, Information Development. That book is now 5 or 6 years old. It is a large book, but it is absolutely worthwhile. Now, if you've never read Joanne Hackos before, I will tell you up front, she is not the world's most elegant writer. That said, anything that she writes, you should listen to. She's also doing webinars with DCL. You should be signing up for her labs and for her webinars and attending. Anything Joanne Hackos has to say, you want to hear. You may not agree with her. You may not need the information now, but she really, really knows what she's doing, and she is one of the smartest people in our field. There's a couple of them. Joanne Hackos, Jenny Reddish, Karen Shriver. These are people that you want to pay attention to because they are on the bleeding edge of what we do, and they're doing serious research, and they're very thoughtful people. So just warn you up front, though, Joanne is not the most elegant writer in the world. Her ideas are absolutely worth anything that she has to write about them. And then it seems as though it's not really relevant, but it actually is. The third bullet, User and Task Analysis for Information Design, by Joanne Hackos and, as I said, Jenny Reddish. I find that book to be, it is written actually for UI designers, but the concepts that they're talking about apply very, very much to what we're doing, and I think you'll get value. So if you can only afford one, clearly the first one. If you can afford two, there's the first two. If you have a budget for all three, go and get all three of them. They're totally worth the read. I guarantee you you'll get things where you go, oh, there I go. That's the answer to that question. Now I know how to manage this. So all right, we have 10 minutes or so left. I'd like to open the floor up to questions. Vincent, okay, everybody, we're about to make this slide go away, so if you haven't done your screen capture yet, well, too late. So next week, I want to let you know the last part that we're going to do is how do you select a tool. If you're thinking, okay, got it, we're using Word. I see the advantages to topic-based authoring. I am ready to start looking at selecting a tool. What would be the best tool? Well, there is no best tool, but there are ways to figure out the best tool for you. And I'm going to talk about how do you go about selecting that tool. And if you've got a tool and you're stuck with it, if you're stuck with Word, and by stuck, that sounds as though, but you've got tools and there's no way you're going to get budget to get better tools or different tools, how do you manage with Word or Frame or Flare or RoboHelp or AuthorIt, etc.? How do you manage with those tools? What are some best practices that would let me use topic-based authoring in those tools, given that they're not the best tools? Some of them are not the best tools for that, but given that that's all I've got. We are stuck with Word because we are stuck with Word. How do I still get some of the benefits of topic-based authoring and still use words? Okay, so I've got a question up. Are requirements docs, implementation plans, etc. considered documentation that can be topic-based? Oh, heavens, yes. Heavens, yes. When I write proposals for clients, I reuse an enormous amount of information in that proposal from client to client to client. Because I do. You bring me in for the same kinds of stuff. You know, nobody says, and we'd like you to help us plan a bakery. I don't know anything about planning a bakery, so I would be completely inappropriate. Okay, requirements. The sections in requirements are the same. The pieces that go into a requirements document are almost or always the same pieces. It may not be applicable, for example, hardware-software interface may not be applicable in this one, but you still have to mention that you're aware of it and it's not applicable. Implementation plans, there's always an installation, there's always a configuring, there's always, so you have these sections that are always the same, and with your product, implementing the product may be very similar from installation to installation. Does that answer your question? You're looking at, think of the meta level. What is always similar from document to document? The concreteness may be different, may not be. And that can be managed with That can be managed with conditional text. It could be that, gee, you know, there's really only 4 different ways that we're ever going to do this depending on our customers, so let's have one topic that has all 4, and then we conditionalize out depending on which way the customer is going to need to do it. What about the numbered rows in a requirements table? I don't, well, there is a requirements table. Let's take this offline a little bit. Let's take this offline. And discuss this, because I don't want to get bogged down for everybody else and have them think that they can't ask questions because all I'm going to do is talk about this. But at a meta level, this is all very similar. At the concrete level, you may need to have conditional text to show and change some of the differences. But at a meta level, this information is very similar. Okay, any other questions? We have about 7 minutes. Just start throwing questions out. Any question? While you're doing that, I want to let you know, by the way, my email response will be slow today and tomorrow. There's a conference in Palm Springs. I live about 50 miles from Palm Springs. Once we wrap up with this today, I'm going to go get in my car and drive to Palm Springs and go to the conference. So I will not be super responsive in email for the next 2 days, but do not fear. I will be fairly responsive starting on Friday. I'm just not, you know, over the next couple of days. The next webinar date is this day next week. And KJ, I did get your email. Sorry, I've been under deadlines for a client, so this weekend I'm going to be catching up on a bunch. The next webinar is today, next week. So next Wednesday. Next Wednesday. Same time, same bat channel. Go to dclabs.com. Click the link in the upper right to sign up, and I'll be sending you guys a follow-up email as well to help you remember to sign up. But go there, sign up, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week. I hope you've learned something important or something that was of value to you, or something that you went, okay, good, all right then, excellent, excellent. That's helpful. I can see why I needed to know that. And then, as I said, next week we're going to talk about what you need to think about when you're going to select a tool and how to manage with the tools that you've got. Okay, I don't see any questions up. Vincent, I'm going to mute myself and let you wrap us all up.
Alrighty, thank you very much, Sharon. So yes, then part 3 of this webinar series is going to be next week, same day, same time, same place. And we also have a webinar with Joanne Echoes tomorrow. You can register for that on our website as well. And that's about it.
Sign up for that now.
You can email Sharon, and the questions will be reiterated on the website by the time the next session takes place.
Hopefully.
Have a good day, everyone.
Excellent. Thank you guys so much. Go do something wonderful. Do something that impacts or changes the world. Excellent use, guys. Thank you. Bye-bye.